it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we are going to be making a Sue Wilson die cut card. This card has been kind of inspired, from my point of view, from some new dies that I got from Sue Wilson, which included this noble squares, which I also got the rectangles, and I have to say I was absolutely shocked at the size of them. They're absolutely huge and they go down to a really nice size. I was really surprised when I saw them, and what I love is the piercing that you get, but not on one side but on both. So whichever side you use, so if it's the outside like frame of the die that you use, then you still get the pierced holes, or if you use the inner square you also get the holes. And actually from the card that I'm doing today you'll see exactly what I mean by that, because it doesn't always make sense when you sort of say it verbally. And then the other die I got, which I've been sort of wanting for ages and just not got around to getting, was this lovely heraldic square. I think it's absolutely stunning. It kind of almost, I mean it looks stunning here, but when you see it cut it looks so amazing. And you've got 3 dies, so you've got quite a lot of different options there, and again you're going to see one of those in action today. So I've done some pre-work, so let me just show you some of the other dies I've used. Now you can make use of various dies that you already have. These are just ones I chose, but I mean, for example, this one I've used here, but you could use any kind of little leafy die that you've got. It doesn't have to be this specific one. Then I've used this one because I wanted these tiny flowers again, so you could just skip the tiny flowers completely, or just cut them by hand, you know, with a punch. Then for this one I'm just using the oval here, not even the outside part, so again any oval die you've got. And then I'm using these 2 sets of flowers, which are the camellias, and I've got the open ones and the complete petals, and I'm using the 2 together. And again any flowers you've got, so you can sort of use what you've got to achieve a similar result to what we're doing today. Okay, so I've used for my card the Creative Expressions cards, foundations cardstock, and I've used milk and cornflower blue, which is clashing horrifically with my nails, but anyway, try not to, just ignore that bit. So those are the 2 colours that I've used for my card, and I've done some work already, so I'll tell you what I've done as and when we're doing it. So let's get cracking on with what we need to do next. Okay, so the first thing that I have already done is I have made one of my easy peasy card bases, and this has come out at 8 1/4 inches square. It's just the way it worked out because of the die cuts that I used, so it just happened to turn out that size. And then on the inside, using those noble squares, I cut the blue and a cream. Actually the cream came from a piece that I used that was like the excess, which you'll see in a minute, and I've just stuck that at a diagonal on the inside to write on, and just to give it a bit of interest on the inside. If you want to know how to do my easy peasy card, then if you go to the blog post that corresponds with this video, link below if you're on YouTube, then I will put that video on that blog post for you. Okay, so I've done that. Then I took a piece of the blue and I took a piece of the cream or the milk, so that was 1/8 of an inch down, so that was 8 inches and 1/8 square, and this is 8 inches square. I then took the noble dies and I took the square, I think it was this one here, so the 4th one down, and I cut an aperture. And this is what I was saying to you about having the piercings on both sides of the die, because I took out that square, and if it had only been one-sided, which it often is, that would have had the piercing on. That was what I used here in the center, and that has piercings on there. So normally that would mean that this piece, the outer edge, wouldn't have any, but because Sue has designed it with the piercing on both sides, it means that my frame part here also has the piercing on, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to stick down my blue piece first. I'm going to use my Cosmic Shimmer glue here. So that's that stuck down. So then I want to put this piece down next. Now I want to raise this up slightly, so I'm just going to put some foam on the back of that. Okay, so I just took some funky foam and I just stuck it on with my glue, and then I'm going to put the glue again across the top here, if I can get any out, and then stick that down like so. And then I'm going to turn that over and pop that in position. And this is really cool. I love using this funky foam actually. I saw this because you can also get it in the colours. So when you not only get a really nice even sort of raised area because it's across all of that section, but you also get it in the colour at the side if you want. Okay, so that's all done. I'm happy with that. So now what we want to do is stick this piece down inside our aperture there so that we get those nice little holes. I've cut this from using the Noble squares, and the reason I did it, I know there's blue down there already, but I wanted to have the pierced holes, which this has, showing on the inside edge of this aperture. So I'm just popping that in, and then when you look at it, you've got those holes. There we go. And you can just see now you've got the holes on the inside and the outside, and I think that just looks really, really nice. Okay, so now what I've done already is I've cut 2 of these heraldic squares, and I'm going to show you how I did that because I need to cut a couple more, and so I'll show you how I got that sort of combination. So let's just pop this all to one side and get my platinum machine, because that's what I'm using to cut today. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Spellbinders plates that come with the platinum. So I'm putting down the base plate and then 1 clear cutting plate, and then I've got a piece of card in the cream. Now there's got a couple of cuts on there where I was playing around with something else, so I just need to make sure I avoid that. And I've got here the outer edge. I don't want this cutting piece here, I just want then the inner piece. So I'm just going to take that, and I've got on here somewhere, yes, some little bits of tape. So I just want to make sure that I'm not anywhere near those pieces that have already been cut. Oh, it would help if the die was the right way up. Okay, and then put that in the center of that, and then just taking my tape so just sticking that down. Okay, so that's just sticking down the inner piece so that it's going to hold in position with the outer edge, but also sticking down that outer edge. Now what I found was if you put the die through so it's absolutely head-on square like that, when it's the Sue Wilson dies, or put anything really, I guess, than the Spellbinders, it can sometimes be a bit tough to get through. But if you just turn it so that it's even just slightly at an angle, so that it's not going bang head on to the rollers, it goes through fine. So even just, it doesn't have to be as much as this, it just needs to be just a slight twist, and it will be fine, and it will go through. And even in the middle here, it will be cutting perfectly on the first pass. So then we're just going to put my second plate, and I'm making sure that it's the sort of slanted side that's going through first, and then we'll just pop that through. And bear in mind that mine will move slightly because I'm on a mat that's slipping. Okay. And there you can see, look, it's cut through just perfectly. But what we do want to do is to put it through to emboss as well. So looking at the combination here, because it's on the mat here, what you want is this platform, the die cut side up, and then your embossing mat, and then this little blue thing. So we'll just pop that through, and then just grab that out, pop it up there so that I can show you. And then you want to make sure that you don't leave any little pieces on your embossing mat, because that will actually emboss. So make sure you get those off, and then just turn that over, peel off the tape, and it's cut so well there's barely anything left in the die. And then just pull that off. And then any loose pieces you can literally just move out with my nail. It's so well cut. Just make sure where there's little curly cues that you don't rip, because you don't want to catch the little curls and pull them. There we go. And there you can also see all that beautiful embossing that you get. It's worth just doing that extra bit. So that's our heraldic square. So I'm going to cut one more of those, and then I shall come back to you and I shall have all 4 done. Okay, so here's all 4 done. So I'm going to pop those to one side because I've just got a bit more cutting to do. As I said, I did a bit of it beforehand so that it would speed things up. I've got a little small thing to cut here, my little sentiment. So I'm going to use my magnetic platform, and look, already it's already bending, and my mats here. So I've got here, actually I forgot to mention this die. I've got the Austrian collection Innsbruck, and I'm just using the inner piece here. This is also the Austrian collection, and this is the corner border and tag. And this is what's the beauty, is that this fits perfectly inside the oval of the one on the border and tags, so you can layer them up. So when you get a set and the collection, they will not have the same size dies in them. Like if they're the same shape, like this is the same shape as the other one, it won't be the same size, so it will layer up, which is really cool. So I've got here a get well soon that I stamped. There we go. So I'm just going to pop that in position and put that on top and put that through the machine like so. And I'm not going to emboss. It's got the little holes, which is why I wanted, it's the pierced holes on this as well, which is why I picked this Austrian collection, because I think that it kind of made that all fit together with the piercing around the edge. So there's that one. And then I'm going to take the bigger one, which is in the borders and tags, and I've got some blue, some of the blue cardstock here. Okay, so then we'll pop that in there. There we go, pop that through. we've got this oval here again with the pierced edges, and then that is going to sit on there like that, and I think that's going to look really good. Okay, so then the last thing I want to cut is I've got a piece of the foam here that I want to use on the back of this just to raise it up. So I want to use the smaller oval so that the foam doesn't come right to the very edge of my little sentiment piece there, but it's just enough so that it is a perfect shape and it will raise the whole lot up without bending it at all. When you put the card through the post or anything, it's going to be completely protected because the foam is a perfect shape, so it's going to sit on the back there and just hold that up just beautifully. Now I'm going to do a second layer of that so that we get a double thickness. Now I may or may not use that, just see, but it may be that I want it just to rise up just a little bit more, so just pop that through, and that is everything cut. So I'm just going to pop all this away and then I will come back to you in a minute and we'll put this card together. Okay, so I've stuck my sentiment together and put the two pieces of foam on the back, so that's just over to one side drying. And then we've got here my 4 heraldic squares, so I'm going to be cutting 2 in half. So let's just grab these 2 here and a pair of scissors. So I'm just going to then cut from this point, and you could use a guillotine if you prefer, but I quite like going across with the scissors because with something like this it's very easy to follow the line and then you know you've got it in half. There we go. So then that's going to sit, and we're going to stick those into each corner like so, and then these are going in these top corners. So all I'm going to do to glue those down is I'm going to use my Cosmic Shimmer and I'm going to put it onto a piece of scrap paper here. So I'm just going to grab that. Now I've seen people do it on the back of their hands and things, but the risk with that is if you're allergic, or you can make yourself become allergic just from overdoing it on yourself. So I would always just recommend doing it on a piece of paper like this. Okay, so then I'm going to take this and we're just going to pop it into that. Just move that over to the side, grab our, and what I want to line it up with is the corner and the sides, because I quite like the idea of the gap on the middle here. There's like a little gap, so we're just going to stick that down, and then taking like so, and then again finding the corner and those edges, and then you'll find that it kind of lines up on this piece just here, so you can kind of just line that up and make it look like it's meant to be joining like so, popping that into that corner. And of course with this one we want to make sure that it matches up on both of these sides here as well as the corner, which it does, and it just makes it look like it's one piece because you've managed to get that kind of matching. There we go. Doesn't that look lovely? There we go. And you can see these pieces here where it sort of just looks like a loop, and I think that looks so pretty. and that heraldic square is so beautiful. Now we want to put these pieces into the center. So I want one like that, and then I want one like that. I just want to stick the centers down on this. I'm not too bothered about the edges going, because I think it will look quite pretty with them kind of sat up a little. Okay, so then just grabbing this and just into the center with the adhesive. And then making sure that one's this way around, making sure that the points are lined up correctly with the points at the top, bottom and the sides. See, I like that kind of looseness that we're getting with those coming up. I think that looks really pretty. I know, unusual, isn't it, for me to actually want something not completely stuck down, but there you go, I actually don't. Okay, and then taking the second one and doing the same again, just doing the middle piece, making sure, in fact I'm going to put a little bit more adhesive down, because I want to be really sure that there's plenty on that center so that it really stays stuck. And then we want it that way around, making sure that the centerpiece is in the center, because look how you get a really pretty effect. And then just taking that, and this takes any excess glue as well, so if you're careful and you don't stay too long, you'll find you won't stay stuck to it. And I think that looks so pretty, because if you look from the sides, you've got kind of like a slight dip in the middle, and look at the flower that you've now achieved by crossing that like that. I think that just looks a completely different look now. Okay, so now we want to sort out where we want our bow and extra flowers. I also made, so let me show you the little bits. So I've got my Get Well. Whoops. I made a couple of stick pins using some pearls and lovely blue bead that I had and some crystal. Then I've got this lovely seam binding bow that I made, and I dyed it because it was cream, but I dyed it using this Colour Cloud from Cosmic Shimmer. I love this. This is new to me. I think it's pretty new, full stop, but it's like a sponge at the bottom, if you can see, with all this ink in it. I mean, it looks really dark, but you can see it comes out quite a delicate colour, pretty much actually accurate to the label, which is good. And as I say, it's like a sponge, and then you've got like almost like muslin cloth over the top, and then I just use these little eggs just to sponge it onto my tape here, and then I bowed it into a messy bow and just cut the ends off. So I've got that. Then I took a piece of this lovely sort of netting stuff, I can't think of the name of it for a minute, and I just put a knot in the middle, so that's going to go behind my bow. And then I cut out some of these ivies that I showed you from the die cuts. I may or may not use all of these, I'm not quite sure. And then these are those lovely camellia flowers. This is the open ones on top of the full flower, and you can see the lovely colours there. And then I just added some little pearl drops in the centre. And then I've got a selection of those that I made, and then I got some of these little baby ones that were from that floral set. Well, it was like a floral frame, wasn't it? I'll put all the names of these sets on the blog post anyway, so if you want to know what I used, all the details of that will be there for you. So just click the link below if you're on YouTube. But anyway, I popped those out. I sort of shaped them so that just by pushing into the center with a little ball tool, and then I just added some blue pearl drops into the center of those. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to use those because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to lay all this out yet. So I'm going to have a little play about, and then I will come back to you when I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I've played around a bit with this, and I think I've come up with a design that I'm happy with. So I just want to take this colour cloud and I just want to add a little bit of the blue around the edge of this little ivy here. There we go. So it's just a little bit of shading just to give it a bit of definition, and bring my card back in. So the first thing I want to do is pop my sentiment into the centre here. Okay. And then I've got a couple of these little flowers and I want to just put a little bit of the adhesive on the back of those, just on the pointy part. And I want two here. And then another one just down there. Because I just think that looks really pretty. It's hard for you to see. That's it. There we go. I think that looks so pretty. Okay, and then I want one of each of the little flowers in the corners here. It's going into where the die cut just dips down. So for that, I'm just going to use a tiny blob of the glue gel, like so, and then just taking my little flower, and instead of kind of like gems, we're just using the little flowers in each corner. And they're all slightly different, which is kind of cute. There we go. That look cute. So that's those. Okay, so then this is where I wanted my ivy here, so that it's just going to come up like so and down like so. So now again with this I don't want it massively stuck down, so I'm just going to take this end here and stick it down, but the other part I'm really just going to leave so that it's pretty loose. I might just put one piece just here so that it stays, and then I'm just going to twist this around. And just pop that like so. And you can see now how just adding that little bit of colour cloud to those ivies just has given it just a tiny bit of definition against the background there. I think without that you would have lost it. Now what I want to do is add my, I can't think what this is called. My brain has gone blank completely, but like the netting, it'll come to me. I'll put the proper name on there. So I've put a big blob because I also want to add my pins in there. So I'm going to add the netting first. I'm just going to use my end of my tool there just to blob that into the glue, like so. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more adhesive on top of my netting, and then I'm going to add my bow. And then I just need to pull this down just a tiny bit anyway, because I want it to be level with that point. There we go. So then I'm going to take these pins and I'm just going to gently pop them into where that adhesive is, and that will hold them in place. Doesn't that look pretty? So I'm just trying to curve those bottom petals just a little, and then leave the top ones popping up. You can just see, and then let's just flatten that a little. There we go. And then we'll stick that down onto there, just using a bit of the glue gel. Like so. Okay, so that is our card finished, and I think it's turned out so pretty. I love the tone on tone that we're getting with these elements here, and the fact that it's all matching together I think looks so pretty. And then just a very simple effect on the inside, and if you wanted to, you could easily stick some of these down. If you wanted just to add some extra detail, you could add a couple of flowers if you use them flat or whatever on the inside here. I'm going to leave it nice and plain and simple, but that's our card done. So I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to go on over to the blog post if you're not there already. So the link is below if you're on YouTube, in that little paragraph below, and it will take you to that blog post, and there'll be loads more photos, more information about all the dies, exactly what I used, etc, etc. So there'll be all of that there for you. Alright, and it's definitely worth it, even just for the photos, because I go mad with photos. I'm a bit of a nutter for taking photos. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you like the finished card, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.